Now so far what we have done is we have added books. If I want to remove this not mapped property, I can always remove them, and I do not even need to add a migration because it was never mapped to the database. So you can always remove that, and we will see a more meaningful example of a not mapped property. Before I proceed further, I want to create a couple of more models. If I go to Solution Explorer in Models, right click. Now every book has one or more authors. So we will add a class for author. Along with that, every book has a publisher. A publisher can publish many books, but one thing we know that every book will at least have one publisher. So publisher to book is one-to-many mapping, and author to book could be many-to-many, because an author can have many books, and a single book can have more than one author as well. So we are not going into the relationships right now, but I just wanted to point that out before I create the model. So next model that we will be creating will be publisher. We'll make this a public, and we will add few properties here. So we'll do prop int, and we have the publisher. Let's call it publisher underscore ID. And when you do that, you need the key data annotation. Next, we'll do prop here. We'll make it a string, and we'll have name of the publisher. Let's make it a required property. We'll go ahead, we'll do prop again, string. Let's add a location for publisher, which will be required as well. And these three properties looks good for our publisher. We'll create properties in author as well. We'll do public here. And we have the key data annotation. We want prop integer publisher underscore ID. Then let's say we have the first name and last name for author. So we'll have it in two separate properties as first name, and we have prop string as last name. We'll do prop date time, and let's have a birth date for them, followed by prop string location. Great, so these are the properties I want for author. Let me add required properties here as well. Those two validations are good. Now let's say I want another property here, which will be prop. It will be a string, and it will be full name. What this property will do is it will just combine the first name and last name. So right here, we will just have a getter in here, and we will return with a $sign to concatenate. In here, we have the first name. We'll add a space, and we have the last name. So when we add this model to database, we do not want to add a column called full name because we already have first name and last name. So for that, we can use not mapped, and it will not add the column of full name to our author class. That being said, let me add both of these classes. So we'll go to our application DB context, and we will be adding author along with publisher. Great, let's go to package manager, add migration. We'll have the add author and publisher table to database. Let's quickly take a look at the migration. We're creating the authors table, and I believe something is wrong here. What's wrong is we have publisher ID in author. If we go to author, whoops, the name is publisher ID. So this is not correct. What you can do is you can change this to author, and the easiest way is just add a new migration. So right here, we'll add the migration, and we'll call it update table primary key name, and we'll hit that. that will just add a new migration in which it updates the primary key. Let's take a look. Yep, let's go back to the initial migration. So in author, we change this to author ID. We have first name, last name, birth date and location. Nullable are false for the first three. That looks good. Then we have the publishers, in which we have publisher ID, and the primary key looks good with name and location, and everything is false for nullable. So this time we'll be pushing two migrations to our database because we made an error there. So we'll just do update database, and this should push both of the migrations. So let's go back to our database and we'll refresh the table. We have authors. If we expand this columns, you see we have author ID and not publisher ID. If we go to publisher, everything is looking as expected. So with this, we have added two more models, and we also saw that if we face any error, it's just best to add a new migration rather than spending the effort to correct the migration, remove the migration, and dealing with the other data and dealing with other changes.